Well, hello. This is Karin Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to the Wrastlin Wrantz project. Whatever the promotion, we're here to learn and discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes of wrestling discussion with your host, Shugo Hanasaki.
Welcome back to the Wrastlin Wrantz project. It has been one hell of a news day in the wrestling industry, let me tell you. Many big and surprising names were released from WWE today, such as Aleister Black of all people, Braun Strowman, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy, Lana, and Santana Garrett. And if rumors are true, there's going to be a lot more on the way, but let's hope everything dies down and settles down. Releases like this have become a trend over the past year, and wrestling fans have been noticing more and more despite the annual releases that happen every year. When releases like this happen, fans are left with a lot of questions on why. Some releases people can argue that, oh yeah, I can understand that, but some are just straight out of left field, and why on so many things. As listeners know, I'm never alone in these podcasts, so to help discuss the why this happened and the sheer ludicrous behind some of these releases, we're welcoming back Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. How's it going today?
It is good. I am happy to be back on the podcast once again. This is just phenomenal, man. I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm humbled that you would do that.
Oh man, it's the honor's all mine, man. You have a great show. You're always chatting about wrestling. You're always helping retweet and share my stuff. It's the honor's all mine having you back on, man. And if the feature's anything to go by, I want you to come on the podcast more often.
All right, hey, I'm always down, man. Just send me a message and I'll let you know.
Sweet, man, sweet. Now, I mean, I was all prepared to talk with you about AEW Double or Nothing, and we'll definitely get into the aftermath of that pay-per-view. But the world, the internet is buzzing. The wrestling fans are buzzing about what happened with WWE earlier today. And I just got to ask, what is your opinion on any of it? On Aleister Black, Braun Strowman, Lana, Buddy Murphy, anything?
I always take the stance of, first off, it sucks to see anybody lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what industry, wherever you work. And I think maybe that's just a part of me being older. I know some of the younger fans, sometimes I saw some people like cheering that certain people got released and stuff. It's not worth it, man. Because there's no worse feeling than wondering, like, where am I going to get money from in, a month from now? Maybe you have something saved up, I hope. But you start wondering, where am I going to get money from and everything else? So I feel for these guys is my first thing I want to definitely say before I get into, like, the in-depth stuff about it. But
yeah,
I feel for these guys.
I couldn't agree more. Sorry to cut you off there, but I could not agree more with that.
Listen, I do podcasting. I completely understand sometimes the audio's not in sync.
I totally agree with what you were mentioning about people losing their jobs. It's never good. It's never a good thing. But there's just all this confusion around the entire thing.
Yeah, man. Like, I just came from working out, so if anybody's wondering, like, man, this dude sounds tired or whatever, that's exactly what it is, and I'm just, I'm wiped right now. But I just feel bad for all of those people. And today, like you had mentioned earlier, some of the names you said, that's got to be like, I don't want to swear on here, but it's got to be like a mind, like, bro, you got rid of who? Why?
Yeah, right.
Why would you do that? Like, not even on my best day would I get rid of some of the people that they did today. I don't know, man. I don't know what this company's doing. I could see rumors of a lot of people thinking maybe it's they're trying to sell the company, maximize profits to the fullest.
Yeah, I mean, there has been rumors about the selling of WWE to another provider, such as Disney, for example. Who knows? But right now, that's just rumors. But speaking of the financials, and this is one of the things that blow my mind, and many fans know this, WWE has been making record financials the past 2 years. And even last year, around April of 2020, when the pandemic first started, WWE released a bunch of people. I mean, Rusev was in that mix, who is now Miro, TNT champion on AEW. But there was a huge amount of stars that were released last year, and people couldn't fathom why, because it was due to budget cuts. But yet WWE is making the most that they've been making in a long time. So when Tommy End comes on an interview, aka Aleister Black, says that he was released due to budget cuts, I am lost because the last 6 weeks they have done nothing but promote Aleister Black's return on SmackDown. In fact, he made his debut just last week and interfered in that Intercontinental Championship match. It just something's not adding up. And for I mean, we hear it all the time, Conrad. Vince comes in 30 minutes, 45 minutes before Raw starts, ripped up the script. Everybody's confused. Nobody knows what's happening. So for 6 weeks, creativity was making all these videos, investing time, investing money, paying these people to do all this. And then on a moment's notice, the second you snap your fingers, Aleister Black is gone. So I don't understand when the whole budget cut thing. Do you know what I mean?
It's also weird because think about where we were a year ago. They were signing as many people as they could to stop them from going to AEW.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we're at the point of we just don't give a damn. Like, we don't care if you go there. Like, they let Mark Henry go. There's just a lot of people that they've recently just said, you know what? Who cares? Go ahead. As long as you're not the cash cows, the Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, you know what I mean? They got who they want to keep and who they're going to build around. I just find it so awkward that you would let a talent like Aleister Black go. And you said it perfectly. You invested time, money, resources. Why would you let him go? You were rebuilding him. So to me, it's poor planning on WWE's part. I don't know what's going on within that company right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. There were a bunch of other names that were below him that I think you could have released if you wanted to. I thought maybe he asked for his release, but it didn't sound like that. We were just starting to listen to clips before this with him on Twitch, and it didn't sound like he asked for his release.
No, he mentioned on Twitter that it was out of left field. He had no idea about this, so he was just as surprised as we are right now. And I mean, on that list too, I mean, Braun Strowman of all people, as 2020 WrestleMania, he beat Goldberg for the Universal Championship. He was main eventing at the last pay-per-view, and then all of a sudden it was told that he was making $1 million a year or something like that. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think I heard that he was scheduled to be in WWE until 2023, but he was just canceled. I don't understand why. Because Braun Strowman, I mean, yes, some people haven't liked the way he's been booked, and I'm one of those people in certain circumstances, like the whole train nonsense and him running around and the choo-choo noises. I'm not fine. Like there's been some things, but honestly though, like Braun Strowman is a monster. When he's flipping over ambulances, when he's being dominant, that one time that I'll never forget, when Braun Strowman threw Triple H into the corner and Triple H, was putting he was selling it really good. His eyes were all, watery, and he was choked up because Braun Strowman, he was fearful of Braun Strowman, right? That's the Braun Strowman that we want to see. Even the feud with Bray Wyatt was really, really good. So Braun Strowman has all the talent in the world. So again, we're back to asking why. And they've had to decide these things rather quickly because, as I mentioned before, 6 weeks worth of investment, and then just the drop of a dime, Aleister Black is gone. And then again, 2 weeks ago, Braun Strowman main eventing a pay-per-view, and then he's just gone. So I'm just at a loss. I don't understand why. I mean, even like, what's your take on Braun Strowman?
Braun is a mixed bag for me. So to me, when I first look at Braun, there aren't many guys in wrestling today with his height, size, and ability to do what he does best. I think he was booked a little cartoony, like you said, with the train stuff. Like, dude, you didn't need to do that with him. I thought that was pure and utter ridiculousness. But I think that Braun has a presence and something to offer. When I think of Braun Strowman, I think of Braun Strowman's great matches too. And you have brought up him flipping the ambulances and stuff. I think of the matches with Roman Reigns, which I think were phenomenal. I absolutely loved his matches with Roman.
Yeah.
A lot of people are probably looking at me like, what? This is coming from the dude who likes AEW? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I really liked Roman Reigns as a babyface going up against the monster heel Braun Strowman. I thought there was something, I don't know, there was something compelling about it. Like, Roman was getting humbled by him. Like, he went to spear him, and he moves out of the way and throws him in the ambulance and wins. Like, it made Braun a big deal instantly. So he's got a lot of potential. I know sometimes Braun runs off at the mouth. I know he had said something like, it's not our fault if the indie wrestlers didn't save their money. Whatever he said. It was stupid. 100% stupid that he said something like that. And you got to be careful what you say, because look at him now. He's the indie wrestler now, technically, if he gets back into the ring. Like, okay, well, where are you going to go work? What are you going to do? You have to humble yourself to be
make a really
that
good
same
point
thing.
there.
Yeah. So to me, Braun Strowman has a spot on somebody's roster. It just depends on what he needs and what they're going to give him.
Yeah, you make a really good point there too. And you know what? I'm with you though with the Roman Reigns face and Braun Strowman being the heel. And I mean, I'm also one of those people. Like, again, people can sit there and like, I love wrestling. I want all wrestling companies to do well. And I don't want people to lose their jobs. Like, I like WWE, I like NXT, I like AEW, I like New Japan, I like Ring of Honor, I like Impact, But consistently, AEW has been the one that's been rewarding my passion the most for the past 2 years. And then comes New Japan. WWE and me have been kind of falling out. And don't get me wrong, I always give credit where it's due. Like the Backlash WrestleMania pay-per-view, that was fantastic, minus the zombies. Every match, though, because minus the zombies, was actually quite good. And I go on record for that in a prior podcast as well. And I'll always say, oh, yeah, WWE did a really good job here. But with Raw, it's just, well, no pun intended with Braun Strowman, it's a train wreck.
Listen, you're not wrong, man.
Yeah, I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to sit there on a Monday night getting ready to relax and watch Raw and say, oh my God, I'm tuning in because of just podcast reasons. No, I want to tune in because I enjoy the product, because I'm passionate about it. WWE hasn't given me that passion, and you know the passion I'm talking about. Every wrestling fan who's listening knows that passion. And when you're on the edge of your seat and you can't wait, to see the end of a match, or you want the match to fight forever, again, like we are going to be mentioning AEW Double or Nothing, but unfortunately, news like this kind of takes up the majority of the podcast. But AEW Double or Nothing knocked out of the park, in my opinion. They'd absolutely smashed it. I enjoyed every match. I understand the criticism with Cody and Anthony Ogogo and how maybe the wrong person won that. But at the end of the day, every match rocked, and I had such a fantastic time.
Yeah. Those shows are great, and I do agree with you on the passion piece of it, because right now, even with my schedule, I want to review everything, and I do watch everything. Like, if you catch me on other people's podcasts, you're like, yo, this dude's talking Impact Wrestling. I've had people message me like, you watch Impact? And I'm like, yeah, I watch everything for the most part, or I try to catch as much as I can, depending on the week. And I watch everything, and I wish I could cover it all, but there's just not enough time. And at this point, in being a wrestling fan or being in podcasting or whatever it may be, I don't want to waste my time on something I don't enjoy. And I've been getting that from Monday Night Raw a lot lately. Like, I just don't enjoy it. It's 3 hours. It's too long. I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're just frustrated with it. And then things like this. So we see a lot of talents. And let's just use Aleister Black for an example. Aleister Black is somebody who was making his return. And he is somebody who was a standout in NXT. He goes through the developmental system like you're supposed to, gets called up to the main roster. They try to tweak some things with him. They even had him in a tag team with Ricochet, which was great. And I don't know what they did to both of those guys. And they eventually stopped featuring both of them for almost a part of a year, maybe longer. And now look at what's going on with him. This dude is released. Like, he deserves better than that, in my opinion. Way better. I just hope when he gets the opportunity to show what he does, it's a regrettable moment kind of for them, because they've had a lot of really, really good talent, and they can afford to make things happen with it. I don't know what's the disconnect in WWE. Maybe if it's money over everything, maybe it's listening to the corporate sponsors, because I tell people this too. I don't know if I mentioned this last time on your show. I say this a lot, though. People don't understand what position Vince McMahon is in. We talk about 3-hour Raws, right?
Yeah.
When Vince McMahon is presented with this idea, you're a CEO, and they say, look, I want Lotus Moon Productions to go 3 hours with your podcast every week, just like Vince is presented. You can say no all you want, but if you're a CEO and you have to go back to shareholders, people who don't care, they want the money back that they invested in the company, they're going to say, you better take that extra, I forgot how much money they're making. Wasn't it like something crazy, like 800,000 an episode more?
Yeah,
It was something insane, and he couldn't refuse it anymore. Vince did turn it down several times and said, we'll do specials. How's that? Because Vince McMahon has said himself, the perfect television show is 90 minutes. It's 1 hour and a half of wrestling, and then the other 30 is for your commercials to get paid.
Yeah.
You can't turn it down, man. It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I mean, and I always say this, and I go on record too, and I have to say this too. I mean, Vince McMahon over the past 25 plus years, like I have been watching wrestling since I was 6, 7, I can't even remember. It's been so long. It's just been part of my life, and I've seen Vince McMahon book some amazing things. I've had some amazing reactions to WWE, but over the past 5 to 10 years, that passion has just gone. I was just discussing off air there after we did predictions for AEW last week. Scott Henson and I were talking off air about megastars, and we were talking about how WWE doesn't technically have any megastars left. I mean, you can say Roman Reigns is turning into a megastar. You can mention Seth Rollins, people like that. But at the same time, and also Randy Orton, he's a 14-time champion. Of course, he's a big part of WWE. But the last megastar that WWE had, I believe, was John Cena. Before that, you had your Stone Cold, you had your Triple H, you had your you had Shawn Michaels, you had The Rock, and those were the guys that nobody could stop talking about in school when I was growing up. Everybody wanted to talk about Stone Cold. Everybody wanted to talk about The Rock. Everybody wanted to talk about DJ Generation X. Like, these are groups that people could not stop talking about. And now all the conversation seems to be fizzled out. I mean, I'm not in school anymore. I don't hear what the kids are be saying these days. But what I can say though is that when I look over at AEW, I mean, I kick myself in the foot for not being able to be part of it live when Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi were the Golden Lovers. The megastars that have come out of New Japan, the megastars that are currently in AEW. It's just an aura that these people have. Dean Ambrose, fantastic wrestler. He goes from WWE to AEW. AEW makes him a megastar.
Right. It's like seeing someone different. I know a lot of people are like, oh, what's he doing that's so different? But it's the aura. Like, Double or Nothing, we'll talk about his entrance real quick. Like, his entrance felt different. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought the dude didn't know where he was going, but he was trying to take in the fan interaction, and he loves it. Yeah. And I love that you can all like be yourselves throughout all of this. Like, it just works.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just crazy that list of people that are gone. That's all I can keep thinking about. It's just like, how did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get here exactly? And I mean Santana Garrett. Now she was one of the developmentals that haven't had much time or anything for people to know about her. But there's Lana and Ruby Riott now. Lana and Ruby Riott. I thought Lana would have been released with Miro last year, honestly. But I heard back early or late last year. It was like, oh yeah, Lana's going through the tables by Nia Jax multiple times because at the end of the day, she's going to be this big baby face and everybody's going to love her. When did that happen? When did that start? Because Lana has been feuding with Naomi. And all of a sudden, they've been in this circle for the past 8 weeks, going over the same matches over and over and over again with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And then Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, the Riott Squad has continually lost as well. And Ruby Riott is phenomenal. I thought for sure she was going to be women's champion at some point. I didn't know when. But I was like, Ruby Riott will be women's champion on whatever brand she's on at some point. But now she's gone.
Yeah, Ruby's got a different look to her. She's got the promo skills. And I thought she was decent in ring. I thought she was good.
Yeah.
She made people better. I don't know, man. I feel like once she got injured, they kind of forgot about them. But it doesn't help either when you're booked against Sasha and Bailey every week. Do you remember that? Like, I
I
swear to you,
do.
for like 6 months, it was the Riot Squad versus Sasha and Bailey and like another person. I could not take it anymore. I was like, yo, if you book this match after, I think it was Evolution, I think we got all the way up to the Rumble or something. I was like, yo, don't book this match again. Like, seriously. It just,
Yeah, I completely agree. And also on that same point too, like throughout the pandemic, who have been the people who we have been seeing? There's been many stars off of TV because of the pandemic and how it's affected travel, how it's affected certain people not wanting to come into work for safety reasons, which I'm completely all for. But the people who have been, on TV for the pandemic era, so to speak, Aleister Black, Braun Strowman, Ruby Riott the second she came back. When she came back, the pandemic had just kind of started roughly, and then her and Liv Morgan had a little bit of a tit for tat, and then they were best friends again. Lana, who was during the pandemic, like all of these people, and even Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy was the last person I was going to mention before we moved on to AEW Double or Nothing, and the best kept secret. Murphy worked all throughout the pandemic. Yeah, he's been off TV for the last couple of months, and I don't really agree with the whole girlfriend thing with Rey Mysterio. No, I didn't want to touch that. But Murphy is one of the best wrestlers that WWE has, and he's not properly utilized. Like, I've seen him. When he fought Aleister Black, all those matches, amazing. When Murphy was with Blake and Murphy and Alexa Bliss was their manager down in NXT, freaking amazing.
they were surprising when they even won the titles. They were just guys who you were like, oh, these dudes are definitely losing to who did they beat? The Lucha Dragons?
Oh, I can't even remember back then, man. It's been a while.
I think it was Kalisto and Sin Cara in NXT, and I was like, oh, they're definitely losing to these dudes. And they beat them, and I was like, yo, and they gave them a nice long title run.
Yeah.
Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake are dude, I'm just throwing my hands up at this. And then he gets put with Seth Rollins, does an incredible job, follows through on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, Authors of Pain, I guess because they got injured, you could be like, okay, maybe you could see that. But with this, I'm like, the dude did everything you asked him to do.
Yeah.
And then you just took him off TV.
Yep. I mean, with
the
release,
you can't run with your legs chained somewhere. Like, yeah, you can't be on TV for a couple of weeks. Like, he's behind everybody now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Buddy Murphy was so good as the Cruiserweight champion and stuff. I just can't believe they didn't find anything for this guy to do.
Yeah, it completely baffles me. And I mean, there's rumors, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, of more releases to come. And I've seen four rumored names. I'm going to name them now. This is not concrete. This may never happen. There's nothing cemented about the names I'm about to reveal. But four names that are rumored to be released next are Liv Morgan, which would kind of make sense because Ruby Riott was left off. Keith Lee, which baffles me more than anything. Angel Garza, they started pushing him a few weeks ago. And Humberto Carrillo, who is currently in a feud with Sheamus. So those are four names potentially. They haven't been released yet, so I'm not going to go on a rampage and or a rant, as they say on Wrastlin Wrantz, about them being kicked off because they haven't been. But I will say though, if they lose that potential, I just it's more baffling. Why? Crazy? Don't understand it. Because, I mean, Keith Lee is everything a promoter could want more. He's got the whole damn package and more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love Keith Lee. I just think there's so much more to it than to, like, understand. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I wish that there was I wish there was an answer for this, and I hope that those rumors aren't true too. Like I said, because that's got to be weird now. If you still work for the company, you're like, "Am I next?"
Yeah.
Like, it's just nerve wracking, man. Unbelievable day today. Like, this definitely just changed everything that people were talking about. Like, it changed our whole podcast plans. Like, what we were gonna do just felt completely different. Like, I just don't.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I hate saying this too. It wouldn't surprise me if Jeff Hardy was released, given how he's being treated on Main Event. And I'm all for Jinder Mahal coming back with a stable and being dominant because, Jinder Mahal is talented. He is a previous WWE champion. And, near the end of that reign that he had there a couple of years ago, I was actually starting to dig this king, this evil king, the character that Jinder Mahal had going, the modern day Maharaja. He was this evil, greedy king. I could tell the character that WWE was starting to get across with him, and I didn't mind it at all. But and then of course he lost right before the Brock Lesnar match and all that stuff. But either way, I could tell what they were trying to do with him, and him coming back with a new stable, dominating. I get it. But then when you have somebody as talented as Jeff Hardy being jobbed out on main event to Jinder Mahal, I don't get it. So Jeff Hardy again. I know his contract got extended because of the injury that he had, but since he's been back, yeah, he had a mess of a feud with Sheamus with the whole alcoholism thing. I don't agree with how they made fun of alcoholism. But Jeff Hardy hasn't really been doing much, and the guy, he may never be world champion again under WWE's banner, but the guy could totally rock the mid-card. He could rock the IC championship again. He could rock the US championship. He doesn't even need to be in a tag team. At one point they were talking about Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle being a tag team for a little bit. That was odd. By the way, as I say, where credits due with WWE, the whole Randy Orton Matt Riddle thing is just cracking me up.
It is one of the funnier things on Raw that I can at least giggle at.
Yeah, totally. Especially when Randy Orton zips his mouth and takes the key, treats him like a child. I love it. It's hilarious. It's actually seeing a little bit of character out of Orton for once. No offense to the guy, but Orton's been the same bloody guy for the past 14 years. So it's just anyway. And when we were talking about megastars earlier, another megastar, and this will get us a segue into AEW, because AEW not only will probably pick up at least half the people that we've mentioned, but speaking of megastars as well, Sting. You heard the crowd. AEW Double or Nothing, Sting's first live match since 2015 before he was technically retired. First, yeah, he did the cinematic match with Darby Allin, which is great. And, the thing I love about AEW is they hide the weaknesses and showcase the strengths. And that's what you do with everybody. That's, Paul Heyman has said the very same thing. And when, Sting knows what he can and cannot do. And him and Darby Allin absolutely killed it. The match was roughly 12 minutes? So what? The crowd went absolutely nuts. And it was like Sting had never left TNT. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I see you're a student of the game with what you just threw out there for knowledge. Much respect. I really, really enjoyed Sting coming out, number one, with the shaved ice. I don't know how they pulled that off outside. It was still pretty nice out, but he had his shaved ice, as we call it on the podcast every time. The little snowflakes coming down. I thought that was cool. I love the spot where Scorpio Sky suplexes him on the ramp. And then he's like on the chip smiling and and then he turns around. I'm like, these dudes were made for this. Like, the theatrics are so great. He throws him off by his bald head, which is what made me laugh, because I'm bald too, by the way. And when he grabs him by his bald head and shoves him off, I laughed so hard. And then I was like, and then Sting jumped off the chips. Like, he held nothing back. They made him look good with the basic stuff that was Sting. Like, you wanted to see Sting make his entrance. You wanted to see him and Darby get fired up at one point, which they did. And then you just saw Sting hit the Stinger splashes. He looked like he can hang in there.
Yeah, 62 years old, Conrad. 62 years old. I don't even move that well, and I'm half his age. Literally, I'm 31.
Right?
Like, I don't move that well now.
And Tony Schiavone on commentary was so money too. Like, he loved Sting. It was just, it's Sting. Like, I just love Tony on commentary and what he does with it.
Yeah, me too, man. You gotta love it. Back, and I was mentioning, near when Sting first came out, it was like 8 weeks worth of the same thing. Sting come out, interview. Sting come out, interview, cut off. It was kind of getting a little boring. They were milking a little bit too long. And, as I said, it doesn't matter what promotion I watch. I'll always have my criticisms. But, when I mentioned with AEW, when I watch Dynamite. Like, again, SmackDown, yeah, it's been way better than Raw. I don't understand how the same writers are doing Raw and SmackDown and how SmackDown is so much better. It's not even an extra hour. It's just better storylines, better booking, but there's still a lot of distractions on both shows. But with AEW, 2 hours in, it doesn't matter who's facing who, I'm invested. And that's that passion that I was talking about before. Like, we had some excellent matches. Like, what's the top 3 matches from Double or Nothing that you liked?
I'm gonna go Stadium Stampede.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Love that one. I'm also gonna go with the Triple Threat.
Yeah. Okay.
With Orange Pack and Kenny Omega. And so here's the weird thing. For the record, when I first saw it, I missed the intro match. So I didn't get to see it. So I feel like that would be my third now, possibly. But if not, I'm going with the Young Bucks and Moxley and Kingston. I thought that was another great match.
Yeah, for sure. And let's so you're talking about Serena Deeb and Riho, right?
That was buy-in. I didn't even know we were counting that, but that was the women's match of the night. I thought that was that one, and I thought Britt Baker and Sheeta picked up at the end. Like, it was really, really good. And there were some parts where it was like, okay, I think the problem with that match was you knew who was going to win. Like, I think everybody went in like Britt Baker's my pick. Like, if I had if I had to say one match and it was like, well, what's your, like, I'm betting a lot of money on this one, that would have been my match. I'm like, I think that this is happening no matter what. Britt Baker's taking the belt. But Riho and Serena Deeb crushed it. I love that they're doing the Serena Deeb's the woman of 1,000 holds. It's perfect. Riho, her contract ran out supposedly. I hope that they sign her because I think Riho's been one of the better female competitors for AEW as well. I enjoy watching her.
Yeah, me too.
This whole show was great, bro. Like, there's one match that I think maybe you could have some complaints about, and even then I was like, it wasn't that bad, bro.
And what match was that?
Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I knew it. Yeah, everybody says the same thing. All 10 matches were great, but if I had to say one thing, it's Cody versus Anthony Ogogo. Yeah, everybody said the same thing.
I don't know if you do like grades or anything when you watch them, but in my mind, we do grades usually after the match because I think it's the fairest way. I can't do the star system like Dave. He created it. I don't want it. I just went to school, so I'm like, I can give a letter grade to this, I feel like. It's just my own personal thing. And that one I gave a C+ to even. Like, I was like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I mean, I really, like, I get it. Memorial Day weekend, you want the babyface to win, UK versus US. I mean, it's classic 80s stipulations, right? But I understand, Cody becoming the American Dream for one night only instead of the American Nightmare. I understand it. But I just felt from a booking sense that Anthony Ogogo would have gotten the better rub because they were building him up for that one gut punch, which I loved, by the way. I love how they were making people sell that.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. I would have booked Ogogo to win too. Listen, my prediction sucked for this show, by the way, for the record. Like,
really?
Yeah, I thought Moxley and Kingston could have walked away with the tag titles, even if it was for a short run, just to, fool people. And then I think because in my mind I said, who do the Young Bucks drop the titles to? And I said Moxley and Kingston would be the perfect two if they were going to do it. But the Bucks hung on. Now I'm wondering who's going to beat them. It's the beauty of the booking. Like, when you do things right, I can be excited because now I'm like, dude, do you go with FTR? Maybe you go with Private Party. Maybe they try to build those guys up. Maybe it's Santana and Ortiz. They're going to get the push they deserve. What if it's someone from New Japan or Impact coming in to face them? You don't know, and I love it. I love it. I mean, sometimes it's right to make sense, but I also love the intrigue behind some of the things too. I'm with it, man. I'm here for the ride. That's how I feel when it comes to the AEW stuff. Like, just chef's kiss.
Phenomenal. I couldn't agree more. I'm here for the ride, and I mean, I can say this now too because looking back, when the world titles were given to Kenny Omega and Adam Page, my WWE intuition kicked in that moment way back then, and I was like, oh no, I don't want Kenny Omega and Adam Page to team up. Oh no, I want these two single stars to be dominating. I want them to go ahead. But you know what? AEW proved me wrong. It was fantastic. And then we had that amazing match between the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Adam Page. And at the same time, we had that story between Kenny and Adam Page, and then the Bucks, and now like everything just went out. The storylines are amazing, and that's just it. Most matches in AEW, for the most part, I mean, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, this person might win. Oh yeah, this person might win. But at the end of the match, I'm like, doesn't matter who won. I had a great time.
Touche, man. That's what it's all about sometimes. I think people forget that too. Like, it's not always about being critical. Like, did you enjoy yourself? Like, did you have fun watching it? That's my main thing. Like, honestly, I had issues at the beginning of the show. Like, I could go on a rant right now about BR Live and what happened with me and them. There were some issues, at least on my end, to get it. And some people were like, bro, why don't you just order it on pay-per-view? And I'm like, well, number one, I don't have cable. I watch everything via streaming service here.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude. And number two, I want to be able to watch this after it's done. And some people are like, oh, you got DVR? And I'm like, I didn't have DVR previously. Like, people were making a lot of assumptions, and I'm just like, bro, that's not how this is working. I have VR Live. Your system should work. I don't need to have multiple systems to watch this. I picked the one I want to use. I picked it. I paid for it. You took my money. Where's the event?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just hot garbage. So BR Live really angered me, but we came to a resolution. We went back and forth about the thing. They were like, "Oh, you got your event. You're good to go." And I'm like, "No. We're going to talk about discount. I missed the show." And I'm like, "And I'm a podcast reviewer." Okay, yeah. Do a discount. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I mean, back to when you were saying too, like when you put all your money on Dr. Britt Baker DMD, I mean, she was definitely my pick for winning that match. I said in a previous podcast that it didn't matter what she did, whether it be clean, whether she cheated, whether she pulled every heel tactic available, she would have won that championship, and she did. And I'm looking forward to that. And with Riho, as you mentioned too, I didn't know her contract came up, but that just shows another appreciation of Riho going out with a bang, because Serena Deeb and Riho, as we mentioned, they killed it. They crushed it. And the Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston, John Moxley was beautiful. It took 4 BTE triggers to knock Moxley out. Like that shows me that it took a lot to knock Moxley out.
Though you've booked. So here's the weird thing. I think Kingston's a strong promo, but Kingston was the weaker one in the matchup, just based off booking. Like, he's lost to Moxley, he's lost to Cody. Cool, that's fine. Eddie Kingston doesn't really need a championship, in my opinion. I think maybe you will give him one eventually, but he doesn't need it. Moxley has been built up as one of the toughest, excuse my language, badass people in AEW. So he was good to go already. And the Bucks have been the most badass kind of tag team from a booking standpoint for the most part. Them and FTR are probably your top 2 right now. And when you got in the ring there, and it was like, well, how can you end the world champion who would crush somebody one-on-one in a tag match? You had to just say, you know what, we're going to wreck this dude with like 5 of our finishers, or I think it was 4 actually, 4 of our finishers. And I was like, it works.
Yeah.
I gave, this is the golf clap. Hopefully it's not too loud in your ear, but it was bravo, man. It worked. I wasn't mad at the end where I was like, how could you beat him like that? I respect it. That's something that I could respect, putting away Moxley. And guess what? Moxley took the pen, not Kingston. So Kingston looked stronger. And that was his first event in front of live people. Think about that.
Yeah, and don't forget too, Moxley is still the IWGP US champion. So it took 4 triggers to knock his ass out.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what they do, man. I'm hoping things can get back to normal, not only in like North America for us, but I really hope that other countries get the relief too, that they can get shows back and things can get normal for them too, man. Because I just feel for everybody when it comes to this type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to the triple threat too with Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy and Pac. I mean, I know you shouted out the Stadium Stampede, which is fantastic. I loved it. I laughed. It was a little bit more serious, of course, than last year's because it was the Elite versus the Inner Circle. But the Inner Circle, another Stadium Stampede match, and they knocked it out of the park. I had a great time. But getting back to the triple threat, there were some people complaining at the end of the match because Kenny Omega using all the titles to win is cheating. But I want to tell everybody one thing right now, and this is how you get the best out of your wrestling. It's not about your favorites winning. It's about the story, and as Conrad and I were speaking about, it's about the journey. And unfortunately, WWE's burned me too many times to trust the process with them. But AEW, though, it's not always about having your favorite to win. Like, Kenny Omega is definitely one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet, heel or face. And same with the Young Bucks. Love them. But the idea right now is they are heels. Their job is to make you hate them. And also, it's triple threat rules. Kenny Omega was allowed to involve whomever he wanted to and hit with you as many belts as he wanted to. So,
right.
But
I can see why it took people out of the conversation, though, because some people say Kenny's best in the world, and I do firmly believe he is in the conversation of one of the best wrestlers, absolutely, because he gets his job. But I think the one part of the match I love, so while some people hated the belt shot spot, and I may be one of them that I was like, you could have not did 4 belt shots to Pac, but it made Pac look stronger. I get why they did it.
Well,
but
he's
I
got
love
4 belts. He has to use them all.
Exactly. When Pac had him in the Brutalizer, I love the spot where I think Orange Cassidy's in the Brutalizer and Pac gets stomped in the head. And normally guys let go of the hold after. Pac looks at him like he's crazy and says, no, I'm not letting go. And he does it again, and he's still looking at him like, no. And then he's like, my title's about to be gone. And what would a cowardly heel do? Or your friend that you're playing the video game with? I'm going to hit the ref. Really? I loved the thinking on it. Like, I'm just going to hit the referee then because I'm not going to get DQ'd.
Yeah, and that's just it. That's just it, right? Cowardly heel, you got to do whatever you're going to do, right? And I mean, Kenny Omega has, around the world, he's proven that he's one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And I mean, he's up there with many others. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. Imagine Kenny Omega and Bret Hart in their prime facing each other.
Gosh. Imagine Kenny Omega, Kurt Angle, and Bret Hart.
Oh shit, man! It's crazy, right? Just take Kenny Omega, Kurt Angle, Bret Hart. I mean, just Bret Hart in his prime against so many people. But there was one move that Pac did where it was Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy. And I think he did the red arrow on them both, and I thought that was a great spot too. But you always knew. I don't know how anybody couldn't know that Kenny Omega wasn't coming out of that match, the loser. He was going to cheat. He was going to use the Good Brothers. He was going to use Don Callis, whatever he was going to do. Because right now he is the collector. He's going around collecting everything, and the only one he's missing is the IWGP. And I don't know how he's going to get it or if he's going to get it. I thought he would have gotten it from Kota Ibushi because of their history, but then that swerved me with Will Ospreay, and now Will Ospreay had to vacate it due to an injury, bless him. And now it's between Shingo Takagi and... Yeah, and now it's between Shingo Takagi and Okada. So it's one of those two who are going to get the championship. But I don't know how they're going to do it with New Japan, if they're going to do it with New Japan. But I know right now, Kenny Omega is defending his title against... Actually, this is good to wrap everything up, too. Because we're going to wrap everything up in a couple of minutes. But Kenny Omega is going to be facing or defending the AAA Mega title against Andrade, who was released just recently as well. So we're speaking about all these releases from WWE. Andrade leaves WWE, and now he's facing one of the best wrestlers on the planet. And Andrade and Kenny Omega are absolutely going to kill each other.
Yeah, that should be a great matchup. They've got a lot of good matches coming up for that AAA Triple Mania show. Like, I'm excited for the women's match too that's coming up with Deonna Purrazzo.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's going to be another banger of a match. Like, that card looks great. It looks great.
And then also on Impact, we have Kenny Omega defending against Moose. Like, Moose is the man. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Moose is the man. I love watching Moose on Impact.
The first time Kenny came into Impact, I don't know if you saw the matchup they had. I think it was that 6-man tag. If I'm
not mistaken. I did. Yeah,
incredible chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. And like over the year, like I didn't really know who Moose was prior to 2020. Okay, I started watching Impact more. I mean, I've always watched Impact here and there, throughout the years. I remember when the Young Bucks were Generation Me. And, when Jeff Hardy was the Antichrist of professional wrestling, and Eric Bischoff was in there. Hulk Hogan was, I remember, Sting was in there. I remember, Kurt Angle was in there, all that. But Moose, I started watching him when he was facing EC3. And I I started learning about who he was, and I love the entrance. I love the charisma, the aura that's surrounding Moose. And again, speaking of megastars, Moose is up there for a potential megastar spot if booked right. Like when he comes out on stage, everything's dark. You hear his music start, and the lights slowly start shining down on him, and everything lights up. He's the whole package. He can do insane moves for his size. He can talk on the mic. He's got great charisma. He can wrestle like nobody's business. He's an incredible star. And him like Kenny Omega versus Andrade, Kenny Omega versus Moose, and Kenny Omega versus Pat. And now in 2 weeks' time, we're getting Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is not going to win, but that's going to be a great showing. So, I guess my last question before we wrap things up, Conrad, is where do you want AEW to go from here after AEW Double or Nothing?
I don't know. It's weird. They're in like this weird flux state. I don't know what to expect because we're in the midst of the NBA playoffs and AEW is being moved around. So I'm coming up with different content on Wednesdays because I can't cover AEW, which is nice. It's kind of like a different break, and it's something different. But I don't know where they're going yet. I know that some of the to me the end game has to be we have to get a match between Hangman and Kenny Omega. But is it time now, or do you wait a little bit? And it's going to be interesting to find out about that. We've also got Jungle Boy. He's the number one contender. Like, this could be a really great moment for him in 2 weeks against Kenny Omega. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup as well. They've got a lot to offer. I'm trying to think of who else has a feud. The Bucks have moved on, I'm going to assume, from this. So who steps up next? FTR? Santana and Ortiz, the Inner Circle and Pinnacle, are they done feuding with each other? Who fights Miro? Like, there's more questions right now than answers.
But it's a good set of questions though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're just wondering what's next for this company and what they're doing.
Yeah, because I can say the same thing about Raw. When it comes, Raw leaves me with more questions than answers, but that's in a terrible way. AEW leaves me with many questions, but I always get them all answered.
Right.
Yeah.
I respect it, man. I'm looking forward to it. I know that we just talked about a lot of turmoil in wrestling, but there's still a lot of good if you go out there and find it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm still excited. I'm still passionate as ever, and there's more wrestling than there ever was. We have two big. They are. Which is amazing. There's just so much wrestling out there. Just one thing, just to take a chip off your shoulder to anyone listening, is when you're watching a match, sometimes just separate yourself from your favorite, and you can enjoy the match a whole lot more. That's one thing I've learned over the past 10 years. Because when I watch the G1. That's the best time to do that. New Japan G1 tournament, you just put on the G1 and you enjoy. Faces, heels, doesn't matter. You just enjoy the G1 tournament. And so what if your favorite loses? You're going to walk away feeling good.
True that. And you don't know what they're booking in the G1 either. They could have somebody win a bunch and then all of a sudden your favorite rallies back. You don't know.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. It's happened. It happened with Will Ospreay.
Right.
So with that, we will wrap things up there. Thanks for coming on again, Conrad. We'll definitely have to have you back on soon.
Absolutely. Anytime we can kick it and talk some pro wrestling, I'm down.
Perfect, man. Sounds good. Can you shout out your social media so people know where to find you?
Yeah, if you guys are available, you guys can go on YouTube. I'm looking for more subscribers, almost trying to get to that 1.5K. So if you could give us a subscribe, just type in Everything Pro Wrestling. You will see the red and black logo with the microphone. Come on in, show us some love. We do a lot of weekly recaps for AEW Dynamite after they end, and we're on a live stream just talking about the events and shows. We try to podcast after some of the pay-per-views as well. You guys can catch me on Twitter at EPW Show, Instagram at EPW Show, Twitch we are also on. You can put in EPW Show. And on Facebook, you can type in Everything Pro Wrestling. We have an official page and a private Facebook group page. You can come in, talk some pro wrestling. There's some arguments in there. People go back and forth. It's been a heck of a day today, even in there, but everybody just talks wrestling. That's the best part about it.
Yeah, it is. As long as it's positive discussion, nobody's pooping on anybody.
No, you'll get the band hammer, I think, from my mom. Do that.
Yeah, and also look out on my SoundCloud, or not SoundCloud, on my Twitter, as I try to retweet as many times as I can for you guys' product. Of course, anytime you need me to share something, I'm always willing to do so. And you can find all of our socials at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, Lotus M Productions on Instagram for the independent music side of things, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. So with that, this has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off.